Hi there. I have for quite a while admired the work of David Nittman. We lost David Nittman in 2014, but he was one of the undisputed masters of basket illusion. Now, I've never tried this before. I spent a lot of time doing research trying to find out how to go about it, and finally stumbled upon a YouTube video by Harvey Meyer. It's a two-parter where he describes how to do it. So I'm going to put a link in the description box below so you can watch somebody who really knows what he's doing. And in the meantime, I'm going to try for the first time to do a basket illusion turning. I have a small blank, it's 4 inches in diameter, about 1.25 inches thick. I don't want to do a real big one because it's probably going to take me forever just to do this one. It's the first attempt. I ordered a couple of beading tools from D-Way Tools. Haven't even put them to wood yet, so I'm not sure how this is going to work. I don't have handles on them, but from what I saw, I don't think I even need them. There isn't going to be all that much torque involved. So I'm going to get to work and see what I can do with this. Stick around and watch if you care. I'm just using one of my shop-built glue blocks, which threads right onto the spindle. It's very handy. I'm going to bring the tailstock up to hold the blank against it, and then I'm going to use hot glue to stick them together. I'll give this hot glue time to cool down and then come back and start working on this. My first step is just going to be to true up the outside of this block. And I'm going to use my 3/8 inch bowl gouge for this. I want to put a tenon on this end to be held in a 4-jaw chuck. So my next step is to mark for the size of that tenon. I want a 1 5/8 inch tenon. Half of that is 13/16. So I've set my dividers to 13/16. I'm going to put this right leg into the hole in the center and then use the left one to mark that line. Now with the line scribed, next part will be to create that tenon. Now I'm going to use my parting tool to define the outside edge of the tenon. That should be deep enough. Now I'm just going to take away some of this stock on the outside. Before I reverse this into the 4-jaw chuck, I'm just going to give a little bit of a shape to this. I'm not trying to make a real deep bowl or anything, almost a platter. Since this is my first time, I don't want to have a lot of curves that I have to work around. So I will shape this and then sand it before I reverse it. I'm going to sand this, reverse it into the 4-jaw chuck, and then I'll be back to show you the next steps. I have it reversed in the 4-jaw chuck now. I didn't get too carried away with the sanding because of course the beading tools are going to take a lot of that away anyhow. Now, I don't want it this thick. I want to be about 1/4 inch from where the shoulder starts to slope. So I'm just going to mark that. And now, again, not wanting to waste wood, I'm going to part this part of the disc off and then start turning the rest here. I'll be using my thin 1/16 of an inch parting tool. I used my hand saw to finish removing this, and that leaves me with a nice little disc that I can use sometime in the future. Now I'm going to start turning this. Alright, I have cleaned up the inside here and sanded it just to 240. Unfortunately, some bonehead forgot to turn on the camera while that was being done. Wonder who that could have been. Anyway, now I'm going to try the beading tools, and I have not even tried them before, so you might get to see a real mishap. I have two sizes, 3/16 and a 1/8 inch. I'm going to use the 3/16 for the very outside bead, and then carry on from there with the 1/8 inch beads. I'm going to start by very lightly just scoring the lines so I see how they line up. Now I'll be going back in with the beading tool, and I'm going to rock it a little bit side to side as it's cutting, and I have to pull it back as soon as the bead is rounded, otherwise I'll take the top off. There, that's nicely rounded. Not too unhappy for the first bead I've done, although obviously I should have gone a little closer to the outside, but I'll just clean that up later. Now I'll do some of the 1/8 inch beads. One thing I'm seeing here is that I should have this tool rest a little higher, I believe. Just change that. And I'm not unhappy with those. Some of them are not quite as round as I want, so I will just try finishing these a little better. I think those are looking pretty good. I just realized I made a mistake when I reverse chucked this. Before I reversed it, I should have put the beads on the other side. Now to do that, I'm going to have to reverse it again. Luckily I still have the center. I'll put it back on this glue block and put the beads on this side. Alright, I'm going to glue this back on here again, and because I'm using hot glue, I don't have to worry too much about it running down and getting in all of these grooves. If it should get in there between the beads, I believe once I reverse it again, I should be able to use the beading tool to clean it up. So I'm going to glue this on, and then I'll be right back. Alright, the glue should be cooled enough now. I'm going to do the beading on here, and I'm also going to turn the outside. You might remember there was that little edge that needs to be taken off on this far side. I find it a little difficult to tell when the bead is fully round. I think I'm going to put a pencil mark in the middle of each of these and see if when it removes it, it's round. I think that should work. Yeah, that helped. That does make a difference. There's a little bit of pencil mark still there, so I'm going to go back and clean that up just a little bit more, and then I'll be back. Alright, I'm quite happy with those now. Now I'm going to try cleaning up this outside edge a little bit. I'm going to do this with my spindle gouge. Alright, that looks alright. I'm just going to sand this very gently and I'll be right back. On my lathe, there's just one thing I'm not 100% fond of, and that's the spindle lock. It doesn't lock as tightly as I would like. When I lock it, there's always a little bit of play in there, as you can see. A while ago, I got into doing open segmented turnings, and to do that, I needed to be able to lock the spindle very securely. So I bought this system from Alisam Engineering. It works great. It's got this post here with a screw that'll put a peg through and hold it in place. I can just remove that and then change it to whatever number of degrees I want to move it. If I use the outside circle, there's 144 holes, which gives you 2.5 degrees incremental. The inside one has 120 holes, good for 3 degrees each, and the inside one has 90 holes, which will allow 4 degrees. So for this, I'm going to use the center. I've drawn up this graph to show what I want to do. There are 30 spokes, so I need to move 12 degrees each time. And I've shaded in. I want to just sort of do a spiral here. This being the first one, I'm not sure what to expect from it. If I don't like it when I'm done, I can add sepia color perhaps to the next ring. So now to mark this, I've made this little jig. The pencil lines up exactly on center, and I can simply drag it across, bring it around to the back, do the same thing on there, and right around the corner. Then wanting to move 12 degrees, I just need to move this 4 steps, and that gives me the 12 degrees. Now I do the next line, gain around the corner and on the back. And I'll continue to do all the rest of them, and then I'll be back. I've got all the lines drawn now, front and back. Let's take a look at it. Not looking too bad. Now I'm going to turn this away. I'm using my cold jaws to hold this. And now I just want to turn away this part, and then I'm going to put more beads in toward the center. I think I'll just take a straight edge and continue these marks toward the center. Now it's time to burn the lines. I use the Razertip pyrography system, and I picked up this 1/8 inch bead burning tip, which doesn't fit quite perfectly, but because it's sharp, I believe it'll probably burn its way in and then the center will burn the line. To work on the outside piece, I'm going to use a skew tip, and I will just come around with that. So let's see what happens here with this 1/8 inch. Give it a second to heat up, which it does very quickly. Anything that doesn't burn with this, I'll just use that skew tip to go over it. But I think this is going to work pretty well. Now I'll switch to the skew and try coming around with that. That one definitely does not need to be heated as high as the other one does. That gives you an idea. Now, when I mess up like that, I'm hoping that that's just going to scrape out of there. I'll have to give that a try. So I'm going to go ahead and do all this burning, and then I'll come back and show you some of the color that I'm filling in. I have all of the lines burned now, and somebody's always interested in how long things take. It took me about 1 hour and 20 minutes to do this. Now the next thing I want to do is color it. The pens I'm going to be using, they're black, they're made by Faber-Castell, and they're called a Pitt Artist Pen. I have 3 different tips to try. This one is what's called a soft brush. There's another one called a brush, and then there's one medium. Now, I've gone and made a practice piece because, to be honest, this is what's got me a little nervous. I don't have the steadiest hands, so it won't surprise me if I end up going past where I want to be. So I thought I'd try a little bit of practicing here. This is a medium. This is the brush, which is much finer and probably will let me get down inside here without hitting the other bead, I'm hoping. It works pretty well. And this is the soft brush. Don't know what the difference is yet. Oh, yes I do. It's very soft, very pliable, bends very easily. Now, I don't have very steady hands, as I said, so this is going to take me a long time, and it's what I'm nervous about. I'm sure this black penetrates a little bit, and if I end up hitting a bead I don't want to be on, it's going to be almost impossible, I believe, to get it out of there. So this is going to take a very long time. There was one place here where I got a bit of a burn that I didn't want, so I think I'll start there. I'm going to use the brush. I want to color the entire outside bead. And then on my next one, following that pattern I made, I'll be doing this one, then this one, and this one, and so forth. And I'll also go back and do the third one from there, and then carry on making my spiral. And it's going to take me a very long time, and I'll be back after I've got this complete or nearly complete. Well, it's not terrible, but it's a long way from wonderful. I really need some work on using these brushes. I could use a steadier hand, but that's not going to happen. I'm fairly pleased with it as it is, but I am going to get a third color. Well, okay, a second color. This is one color, black's another. And I'm going to do the spiral with that. I knew this was going to take me a while. It took me about 2.5 hours just to accomplish this. So I'll get another colored pen, I'll put that on, and I'll be back to show you. Well, there it is. That new color is called Sanguine. It's sort of a reddish brown in my eyes. Now I don't even sometimes see that spiral. It just doesn't jump out at me. And then the next time I look at it, bam, it's there. So I don't know what to say about that. Now I'm quite pleased with it because it's my first effort and I'm just practicing. One big mistake I made, I did not burn between the beads. I didn't see the need for it, and now I do. If it's burned in there, getting in there with that very fine brush tip, I don't have to go all the way to the bottom between the beads, and so that should help. Now I've got this other one. I'm going to face it off because I can put it back in the chuck. Face it off and put more beads on it. This time I'm not going to go so close to the center. I find that when they're that small, they're very difficult to work with, and I don't think it's real necessary. So I'm going to put this back on the lathe. I'm going to face it off smooth, put more beads on it, and then I'm going to burn between the beads. I'll have to figure out what material to use for that. So come along with me and let's take a look. I faced it off and made some new beads, and I think the camera will pick up the dark line I managed to burn in there. I'm using a fairly heavy cardstock. Not sure where I got these, but I've got a ton of these laying around. And what I did was curve it until it fit into the groove between the beads, running it at 2000 RPM, built up enough heat to burn it in there. Now, the problem is this is paper, and of course I don't want to get too carried away with the friction. I don't want to start a fire. But I'll do another one here. Running at 2000 RPM, this thing makes quite a bit of wind noise. Does a nice job. Now I'm just going to finish the rest of these. Then I'm going to do some more burning just to do a test piece again, and I'll show you the results. I've cut this a little narrower so it'll fit into the smaller grooves a little better. I think those will do. I'm going to use this jig to make the lines again. I drilled a new hole. I put a stab center in the spindle, and then I pushed this side against it so that I would have the exact center. It's a little bit more exact than what I had before. Now I'm not going to do the other side because I don't have any beads on it. I'll just do this side because it's just to do some testing. Well, I must say I am much happier with the second one. Burning those lines in the grooves between the beads really helped. I don't know if it'll show up on the camera from there, but this is what I've got. I'll put a couple of still shots on there. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. Maybe you learned something. I know I was learning right along with you, and I'm very happy to have done this. Now I want to apply this to a bowl or a vessel of some kind, something like that. Just got to sit down, plan out the pattern, and get to work on it. So hopefully one of these days I'll come up with another one and show you what I've come up with. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day in your shop. Be safe, always be safe. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that. Take care now.